Segment 3, China. Mao and the communists take control of the country in 1948. You got a very poor country with a lot of people being killed. And in 1979, something changes. Tell us what changes.
Mao is dead. The Gang of Four is in prison and I guess executed. And Deng Xiaoping was a very smart, well-educated peasant like Mao. And a few of his colleagues get up and they say, we're going to lose the whole thing. And what they meant, of course, is the Communist Party will lose its credibility if we keep up this poor performance in economic terms with no noticeable real benefits in the lives of people. I mean, it was compounded by the Great Leap Forward where, 20 to 30 million people starved.
The numbers are staggering.
They're staggering. The Cultural Revolution, which really wasn't economic, but and they said, look, they were pragmatic. They said, we have to do something different. This centrally planning business isn't working. It hasn't worked anywhere else either. We have to use markets and create a certain amount of economic freedom for people to act. We have to let market incentives operate because people are just not, they're producing to quota or something like that. And we have to open up. We have to start learning from the rest of the world. And so they did both of those things with
staggering
in the end,
results.
Just spectacular.
Let me try a quotation, a chestnut of a quotation from Adam Smith on you, Mike. Quote, little else is requisite to carry a state to the highest degree of opulence, but peace, easy taxes, and a tolerable administration of justice, close quote. One of Milton Friedman's favorites, as you know.
Yeah.
Is that what it comes down to in China? That the government just got off people's backs? That it got out of the way? In other words, with China, from this country, it's constantly back. To what extent are they simply engaging in the kind of economics of which Milton Friedman would have approved? They're just getting out of the way and letting markets operate. And to what extent are they instead directing this economy, making choices about capital allocation? To what extent is it in some way still a command economy?
It's a hybrid. They adopted the market system and appreciated what it does and the dynamic, and they opened it up. So they get the benefit of entrepreneurs creating new companies. They get the benefit of export-led growth. They get the benefit of multinationals coming in to produce things and eventually hope to sell them in this growing large market, and all the technology and know-how transfer that goes with that foreign direct investment process. They got all that right. So a very large part of this story is getting out of the way, given the starting point. But there's another component, which is governments invest in things that the private sector tends to underinvest in. Education, human capital, infrastructure. And China is a star performer because the government has a huge balance sheet, a gigantic access to resources, which they, of course, can misuse if they so choose. But they chose to at least deploy some of those assets in not falling behind and creating the complementary assets that increase the returns to the private sector investment and let the engine run.
And where did the intellectual framework for all of this come from? Did Deng Xiaoping say in 1979, wow, we'd better get some of our best students over to MIT and study up on Western economics? It doesn't seem to have been the case, does it? They've gotten an amazing amount right on their own. Is that right?
One of my friends went with McNamara to China. McNamara was then the head of the World Bank.
Right. Robert McNamara.
Yeah, Robert McNamara. And at Deng Xiaoping's request, and Deng Xiaoping sat them down, and he said, we're embarking on this new course. It's more promising. To be honest with you, we don't know much about running a market economy and managing it. And you're a bank, but we don't think we mainly need money. We save at a pretty high rate here. But what we need is knowledge. We need knowledge in everything. And so would you please help us with that? And the World Bank set about to bring, the leading figures in economics from the United States and around the world. Milton Friedman, James Tobin, not people from all over the political spectrum, to give lectures, to teach them what they knew. so they could start this long journey of learning how to manage an economy in transition.
The next convergence. Meeting the challenge of the domestic restructuring to sustain growth and asserting the right to develop and not be penalized purely for being large are major new mountains for China to climb. Close quote. Penalized for being too large. Is that what you're talking about there is the international green lobby? You're not allowed to produce greenhouse gases?
Yeah, that's part of it. But the other one, I think the more fundamental point, but you know, there is a disadvantage in that. There's also an advantage I've discovered since writing the book, but we'll come to that later. No, China has a per capita income now as a result of 31 years of high-speed growth of $4,000, less than a tenth of ours. But it's a heck of a lot better than $400, which is
right.
where they started. And they're growing very rapidly. But because of the sheer size of the country in terms of population, they're now the second largest economy in the world, if you don't count Europe as one. They just went past Japan. And what they do has a significant external effects. They are systemically important. This has never happened before to a country with a per capita income of $4,000. You know, smaller countries like Japan get to be systemically important when they get to $20,000. Way further down the line.
So by systemically important, you mean the price of oil is up because of China.
Yep.
The price of rare earth metals all over the world is up because China.
Right.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
And financial stability. If they misstep with their $3 trillion worth of reserves, they'll destabilize.
We will all feel it.
Yeah. So they know this. But so now they have attention. You know, we're still not a rich country, measured in per capita income. And there's domestic forces that, you know, opinions that say, well, let's just still pay attention to our domestic growth and development. It's pretty complicated, you know, we'll keep us busy. And then the other group inside China is saying, no, look, and outside China, people who are sympathetic and want this whole enterprise to succeed, say, look, you know, it would be nice if you had the luxury to do that, but you don't. It's not even in your interest to ignore the external effects. So actually you have to accept these as responsibilities. You have to be part of the process through the G20 of managing the global economy. And you have to make policy decisions with an eye to their external effects. And
your general sense of it is that they are being responsible, that they are welcoming, or at least learning to live with these.
Yes. It's a learning curve. I mean, you know, this is something you learn to do over time increasingly effectively. You don't get up one morning and say, I understand the global economy.
As you know, here's the other question. At some level, in the back of every American's mind, on a scale of 1 to 10,
yep.
with 10 being the Soviet Union in the old days and 1 being Canada,
yeah.
Where is China? Enemy? Friend? Adversary of some kind?
Yeah, I would say 8.
You would?
8 toward friend. I mean, we're not so totally aligned. Yeah.
All right.
Our interests and theirs are aligned better than most people think from reading newspapers.